Welcome, dear soul, to this quiet space. Take a slow, deep breath with me. Allow the stillness of this moment to settle over you like a fine, gentle dew at dawn. We speak today of a sacred truth, a reality woven into the very fabric of your being, a reality that often remains veiled beneath the clamor of the world and the expectations of those who do not yet perceive the depth of your spiritual resonance. You, the chosen one, walk a path that is not defined by external accolades or titles, easily understood by the common mind. Your rank is not of this world. It is a spiritual designation, established in realms beyond the veil, sealed by a covenant far older than your current physical life. This truth, this profound authority you carry, is generally unseen, undetectable by the five human senses. It is a subtle aura, a vibration, a distinct frequency that only the most sensitive, or paradoxically, the most spiritually disruptive, can truly register. Many will cross your path unaware. They perceive only the surface, the human shell, the everyday personality, the history they think they know. They measure you by the scales of their world: success, appearance, material possessions, or social standing. They do not know that they are standing in the presence of an activated soul, a vessel specifically prepared for higher work. Yet there are times, often unexpected, often subtle, when the deeper, unseen forces surrounding certain individuals compel them to interact with you in a manner that transcends mere human error or personality clash. They feel a slight, inexplicable friction, a stirring of unease, a subconscious need to test the energetic boundaries you quietly maintain. This is not always malice. Sometimes it is simply the unconscious, lower self, sensing a purity, a light, or a grounded stability that challenges its own chaotic nature. It feels threatened by your stillness, your non-reactivity, your quiet, self-contained power. They may employ what appear to be trivial, everyday maneuvers, a dismissive word, a sudden attempt to sow doubt, a subtle probing of your integrity, or an effort to pull you into a whirlpool of unnecessary drama. But understand this, dear friend. These are not simple arguments or misunderstandings. These are spiritual reconnaissance missions. They are the unconscious mind attempting to assess the extent of the light, trying to map the perimeter of the divine protection surrounding you, seeking a weak point in your armor of peace. And here is the quiet power of your being. Your spiritual rank is confirmed not by your assertion of it, but by your non-reaction to the test. They came to assess your strength. They left having confirmed their own limitations against a force they could not even name. They tested the boundary, hoping for a dramatic response, a fight, or an emotional surge they could consume. Instead, they encountered stillness. They met the solid, immovable foundation of a soul anchored in divine purpose. That stillness, that non-engagement, was the undeniable proof of your spiritual authority, a rank they were wholly unprepared to comprehend and certainly unable to breach. Let us now explore the specific, detailed ways this spiritual testing manifests, and how your highest self subtly reveals its undeniable rank. We begin with the most common yet most profound challenge to your inner integrity, the assault on your character. Point 1, the test of unjust accusation, the stillness anchor. This test often begins with a whisper of untruth or a glaring misrepresentation of your character or intentions, something so subtly misplaced or so boldly incorrect that it immediately attempts to pull your spirit into reactive mode. A casual observer sees conflict, the spiritually discerning understand it, as a precise energetic probe. It is not random. It is never accidental. The lower self, in its attempt to destabilize the chosen one, sends a high-frequency shockwave of untruth directly into the atmosphere around you. It is a calculated projection of shadow, a mirror reflecting the challenger's own unintegrated darkness back onto your luminous, purified presence. Their spirit sees your elevation before their mind does, and the accusation becomes the tool through which their inner chaos attempts to disturb your divine equilibrium. That is why the details of the accusation are seldom relevant. They are merely the vehicle for the energetic contamination. The substance of the lie is thin, fractured, weak, and often illogical, yet delivered with a fervor that demands immediate attention and emotional entanglement. It is designed like bait, crafted to activate your ego, your defense mechanisms, and your need to be understood or vindicated. The world expects, even insists, that a righteous person must rise up in immediate defense, offering swift and aggressive counter-arguments to refute the stain. The unaware soul scrambles to defend, to justify, to enter the arena of chaos, sacrificing their inner peace for the validation of external opinion. This is precisely the trap. When you engage, you validate the premise of the accusation, and more importantly, you descend your vibration to meet the low frequency of the lie. You step off your throne and into their battlefield, surrendering your spiritual altitude for a temporary ego battle that could never bear fruit. But the chosen one, anchored in their true rank, performs the profound spiritual act of the stillness anchor. It is not silence from fear, it is silence from mastery. You permit the accusation to simply exist in the atmosphere without internal adoption or external reaction. You do not digest it, you do not absorb it, and you do not negotiate with it. You recognize the projection for what it is, a spiritual attack disguised as a personal slight. You observe the energy behind the words rather than the words themselves. And you sense instantly that the lie was never about truth. It was about access. This stillness is not passive resignation. It is an active, deeply rooted posture of self-trust, an unshakable knowing that your truth requires no immediate human defense because it is defended by the divine architecture of the universe. Your silence is not empty, it is a shield. Your stillness is not weakness, it is spiritual warfare executed from a higher dimension. Your silence, therefore, becomes deafening to the accuser. It is a spiritual barrier they cannot penetrate. They expected your light to waver under the heat of the lie. They expected the foundation of your integrity to crack. They expected you to panic, to plead, to prove. Instead, they found an unmoving mountain. They collided with your God-given fortitude and lost. Your spiritual rank is revealed when your internal peace remains unbroken, proving that your identity is fixed in a source higher than human opinion, and that the integrity of your being is an intrinsic, non-negotiable fact. The test ends when the accuser, having failed to draw out the desired energetic response, retreats, defeated by their own projection, having wasted their own energy against the immovable fact of your consecrated self. And the lesson stands eternal. The highest form of defense is the absolute non-necessity of it. Point 2, the test of emotional baiting, the neutral field. Observe closely the attempts to draw a strong, disproportionate emotional reaction from you, especially anger, fear, irritation, shame, or profound sadness over matters that hold little real weight. This tactic is ancient, subtle, and deeply psychological, a spiritual snare designed to drain your energetic reservoir and compromise your clarity of perception. Emotional baiting is not random. It is the deliberate or unconscious deployment of low vibrational stimuli aimed directly at your most sensitive psychological triggers. It often arrives disguised in everyday interactions, a passive-aggressive remark inserted under the mask of just joking, an unnecessary provocation during what was once a calm discussion, a sudden shift in tone meant to destabilize your internal equilibrium, or the imposition of guilt that feels irrational yet targeted. The challenger, whether consciously aware or operating from their unhealed shadow, seeks to hijack your emotional center, pulling your high-frequency energy downward into the turbulence of their own unresolved internal world. They thrive on the energetic discharge that follows your reaction, the spike of adrenaline, the cortisol rush, the tightening of the chest, and the drop in spiritual clarity. These biological responses create the very energetic turbulence upon which their unintegrated shadow feeds. The moment you react in kind, matching their emotional volatility or descending into their frequency, you temporarily step out of alignment with your higher self. In doing so, you inadvertently surrender your spiritual rank. You stop being the observer, the one seated in the elevated vantage point of awareness, and instead enter the arena of chaos, where emotional reactions rule and clarity is compromised. Your spiritual rank is not measured by how loudly you respond, how aggressively you defend yourself, or how skillfully you counterattack. It is confirmed when you establish and maintain a neutral field, a powerful, disciplined state of consciousness where emotional stimuli do not dictate your internal state. This is a mature spiritual practice. It is not about suppressing the emotion or pretending to be unaffected. Rather, it is about observing the rising sensation without identifying with it. You feel the heat, the sting, the irritation, and the instinctive tightening in the body. You acknowledge the humanity of the reaction while simultaneously stepping back into the seat of the witness. In that moment, you apply the lens of your higher self, recognizing the bait for what it is, an invitation to descend. Instead, you create an energetic buffer between the external stimulus and your internal response mechanism. You understand that the external event has no power over your soul unless you grant it permission to enter. You remain uncommitted to the drama's outcome, uninterested in proving a point, and detached from the emotional narrative others attempt to impose upon you. This inner spaciousness becomes immediately palpable. The testing entity senses the stillness of your internal sanctuary and instinctively retreats. When their emotional hook finds no surface to cling to, the attack collapses. Your silence, your refusal to be inflamed, becomes a mirror that exposes the futility of their low-frequency tactics. They searched for a chaotic partner to amplify their turmoil, but instead encountered a field of non-reactive peace. This stability is not weakness. It is the clearest evidence of your spiritual authority. It is power without force, strength without aggression, and mastery without effort. The neutral field operates through profound centered surrender rather than resistance. Its power lies in its ability to transmute the low-frequency energy simply by refusing to resonate with it. The attack dissolves, the chaos evaporates, and the emotional turbulence loses all momentum because you have not contributed any of your energy to sustain it. By maintaining the neutral field, you remain sovereign, unshaken, and aligned with your highest self, allowing the toxic energy to dissolve harmlessly around you, while your inner light remains undisturbed. Point 3. The test of diminishment, the unwavering vision. Those unaware of your rank will sometimes attempt to shrink your spiritual vision or calling. They may mock your dreams, rationalize your divine nudges as folly, or impose limitations based on their own fear-based reality. This is a subtle, yet deeply penetrating test, designed to erode your faith in the unseen plan. The chosen one's journey requires belief in the impossible, faith that defies empirical evidence, and a commitment to a path that often looks ridiculous or impractical to the majority. The diminished are often acting from a place of genuine, albeit misguided care, or a deep, unacknowledged fear of their own untapped potential, projects their limiting beliefs onto your boundless aspiration. They use the language of realism, practicality, and safety to subtly poison the certainty of your divine mission. Their intent, though not always malicious, is to pull you back into the comfortable confines of mediocrity and predictability, where your light will not shine so brightly as to expose their own decision to remain in the shadows. This is a crucial test of your internal faith, a check on whether your vision is tethered to the opinions of the world or the immutable command of the divine. The subtle yet powerful victory of the chosen one is to listen politely, offering compassion for their limited perspective, recognizing that their commentary is a confession of their fear, not a fact about your capacity. You offer a gentle internal blessing and then return immediately, without question or compromise, to the execution of your divine task. You do not argue, and you do not justify your vision, for to argue is to concede that the vision might be debatable. Your spiritual rank is proven when their words evaporate and your focus remains steady on the horizon God has shown you, realizing that the only validation required is the inner resonance of truth. You acknowledge their caution, but you understand that the anointing renders you exempt from the limitations they project. The moment you prioritize the internal authority of your calling over the external anxiety of the crowd, your spiritual rank as a visionary and a pioneer is indelibly stamped upon your reality. This unwavering sight is the evidence that your path is guided by a GPS system far superior to the fear-based maps of the collective consciousness. Point 4, the test of financial constraint, the spirit of provision. Spiritual advancement often comes with periods where material resources seem scarce or suddenly withheld. This is not a punishment, nor is it evidence of failure. It is a profound examination designed to test if your faith is rooted in the physical supply or in the spiritual source that sustains all things. Money in the spiritual economy is simply solidified energy, an earthly expression of flow, exchange, and movement, and its temporary withdrawal or constraint is often a powerful diagnostic tool. The universe uses it to reveal what you truly trust. Are you a worshipper of the resource or a devoted apprentice of the source? For chosen ones, the answer must be unmistakably clear. Those who test your rank may be used, often unconsciously, to create temporary blockages, delays in payment, unexpected setbacks, sudden disruptions, or unexplained losses. These events are not random. They are spiritual audits. The test is not about the loss of funds itself, but about the reaction to the loss. While the world reacts with panic, frantic grasping, and fear-driven scrambling, assuming that scarcity is permanent or that lack reflects personal inadequacy, the chosen one is being invited into a deeper level of trust and spiritual maturity. You are being asked to detach your sense of safety from the unstable, fluctuating markets of the world and anchor it securely in the unchanging, perfect nature of divine flow. This is where your spiritual rank is quietly measured. Your rank is demonstrated not by the sudden arrival of funds, though this often follows once the test is passed, but by the calm, unwavering conviction that provision, in its deepest spiritual sense as the perpetual flow of all necessary resources, is an inherent characteristic of your relationship with the divine. You begin to understand that the temporary constraint is never a subtraction, but a refinement. It is the universe clearing space for a higher, purer, and often non-monetary form of resource to enter your life. Sometimes the delay is designed to redirect you. Sometimes it is meant to remove attachments that no longer serve your path. And sometimes it is simply a pause, a moment where heaven watches to see if you still trust. When your hands are empty, you may still take practical steps, but you do so from a place of peace, not panic. You make decisions from clarity, not fear. You understand that true wealth is not the presence of money, but the absolute certainty of the continuous loving support of the source. You realize that spiritual prosperity flows from alignment, not accumulation. You pass the test when you can look at the empty space in your material life and still offer profound, heartfelt gratitude for the certainty of the unseen supply that is already forming on your behalf. Gratitude in emptiness is one of the highest expressions of faith. It signals to the universe that you are aligned with the eternal flow, not the temporary, visible state. And when you reach this level, when you refuse to bow to fear, when you remain unshaken by appearances, when you trust the source more than the resource, the external constraint loses its power entirely. It becomes irrelevant. The delay dissolves, the blockage breaks, the provision accelerates, because at that moment, your rank is spiritually acknowledged. You prove that your authority does not depend on material conditions. Your spirit commands them. You demonstrate that you are governed by higher laws, not the fluctuations of the physical world. And the universe responds accordingly. For the chosen one, lack is never the end. It is the verification. It is the quiet, sacred test that reveals your mastery over the material realm and confirms your inheritance of a higher, abundant, and divinely sustained life. Point 5. The test of unrequested advice, the sovereignty of guidance. Many souls, sensing your light, feel an immediate and almost instinctive need to tell you how to manage your life or what your purpose should be. This tendency is not random. It is a widespread, socially accepted form of spiritual testing, the subtle, culturally sanctioned imposition of external authority onto your sacred internal space. People who offer unsolicited and often conflicting advice are rarely doing so from clarity. More often, they are projecting their own unfulfilled desires, unresolved wounds, or hidden fears onto your life path. Their guidance is less about your well-being and more about soothing their own discomfort in the presence of someone who walks a path they do not understand. This behavior masks a subconscious desire to steer your ship, to tame a powerful energy they cannot fully grasp or trust. They see your light, your independence, your unshakable connection to the divine, and something within them feels compelled to put a filter over it, to contain it, shrink it, or reinterpret it in a way that aligns with their limited worldview. Your uniqueness becomes, in their eyes, a threat to the fragile security built around their conventional choices. So they attempt to wrap your destiny inside the packaging of their familiarity. The steady flow of unrequested advice, from career choices to relationship decisions to spiritual practices, may appear harmless on the surface, but spiritually it carries weight. It is a direct challenge to the sovereignty of your inner guidance. The world tries, intentionally or not, to define your journey with its noise. Yet the spiritual warrior, fully aware of their rank, does not collapse under this pressure. Instead, they respond with a gentle but firm honoring of their internal sovereignty. You listen, but not with the ears of obedience. You listen with awareness. You hear the words without absorbing the agenda. You acknowledge the message without granting it authority. For you understand that while advice may sometimes come from love, the ultimate wisdom for your life can only flow from the wellspring within and the direct divine source above. You do not need to argue or defend yourself. You do not need to disrespect the giver or make a dramatic stand. The real action is internal. You receive the information as data, nothing more, nothing less. You politely thank the individual, maintaining your peace, and then you take the information into your sanctuary for private processing. You hold it up against the light of your highest knowing. You ask quietly, does this resonate with my soul? Does it align with my divine blueprint? Does it strengthen my path or distort it? If the answer is no, it is gently and lovingly released. And in that simple act of release, you are silently announcing your spiritual rank. You are declaring, without a single spoken word, that the channel between you and the divine is pure, direct, and non-negotiable. You are affirming that no human intermediary, no external opinion, and no worldly expectation has the authority to override your soul's mandate. Your inner compass stands superior to all external maps. And this demonstration of self-trust, this unwavering loyalty to your inner truth, is the real power of your spiritual rank. It is not loud, nor prideful, nor defiant. It is calm, sovereign, and unmistakably divine. Point 6, the test of the unexpected barrier, the flow of divine timing. You will encounter barriers, seemingly random delays, sudden technological failures, or abrupt cancellations, just as you are about to step into a new, elevated phase of your life. This is not a coincidence, and it is certainly not sabotage in the way your ego might interpret it. This is the deliberate testing of your patience, your perspective, and your understanding of divine timing. The timing of the universe is not the same as the timing of the ego. The ego demands constant forward motion, instant validation, and uninterrupted progress. It equates speed with success and pauses with punishment. But the spirit, wiser and infinitely more attuned to the unseen architecture of your destiny, understands that the journey is often cyclical, not linear, and that delays are frequently acts of divine preservation or preparation. The unexpected barrier, the missed flight, the computer crash that erases a document, the car that won't start, the sudden illness that forces you into stillness, is not an enemy opposing your progress. It is an orchestrated pause designed to test the depth of your surrender to a timeline infinitely superior to your own planning. The test is simple. Will you panic? Will you crumble into frantic striving, force outcomes that are not ripe, or spiral into self-blame and frustration? Or will you rise into the maturity of someone who understands that each delay is coded with purpose? The ego wants to react, but your spirit is being trained to respond. Instead of immediately assuming rejection, failure, or interference, the true demonstration of your spiritual rank is the ability to interpret the barrier as a protective recalibration. You pause without resistance. You breathe instead of forcing. You view the interruption not as a roadblock, but as a required rest stop on the spiritual roadmap, one placed there with precision to shield you from premature exposure, unnecessary harm, or opportunities that are not yet aligned. The unexpected space becomes a classroom. In that slowed moment, you review your energy, examine your motives, or notice the misaligned intentions that were previously hidden beneath your hurried momentum. You gather a missing insight, receive a subtle warning, or realign with a truth you'd been neglecting. The shift from irritation to inquiry, from why is this happening to what am I meant to see or understand here, is the hallmark of your spiritual evolution. When your default response becomes curiosity rather than complaint, you have crossed into a higher tier of awareness. This is the maturation of your soul. Your rank is revealed not through your ability to push forward at all times, but through your ability to remain still when stillness is required. You maintain your peace rather than collapsing into emotional turbulence. You trust the process rather than demanding control. You honor the detour rather than resenting it. You begin to realize that nothing is truly delayed. Things are only aligned. Time stops feeling like a rigid line you must race along and begins to feel like a living, flexible medium orchestrated by a wisdom far beyond your own. You stop seeing pauses as punishment and start recognizing them as protection. You understand that divine timing is not about speed, but about synchronization. It ensures that when you arrive, you are ready, energetically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. The barrier was never meant to break you. It was placed to build you. And when you learn to flow with these pauses, rather than fight them, you move through life not as someone constantly reacting to circumstances, but as someone guided, protected, and aligned with a timing that never misses. Point 7, the test of solitude and silence, the self-sufficient light. The final and most profound test is the imposed or chosen period of deep isolation. Many who test your spiritual rank will be silently removed from your life, leaving behind a strange, uncomfortable stillness that you did not ask for but were divinely placed into. Relationships, connections, and familiar voices that once offered companionship, reassurance, or external validation begin to fall away. It is not because you failed or because you were unworthy. It is because the stage of your next evolution cannot be shared with people whose energy belongs to the previous chapter. This is where the spiritual path becomes undeniably real. The challenge here is not loneliness. Loneliness is merely the surface-level interpretation. The true challenge is learning to confront yourself in the absence of all external mirrors. The test asks only one question. When everything is stripped away, what remains? The silence becomes a teacher, unyielding, unfiltered, and honest. You are forced to meet your own thoughts, your own shadows, and your own brilliance, without interruption, without distraction, and without the noise that once gave you a false sense of identity or importance. Many fail this test because they interpret the quiet removal of people as rejection, abandonment, or punishment. But the spiritually awakened know that it is confirmation. The world teaches you that your worth is tied to the size of your audience, the intensity of external affection, or the magnitude of your social interactions. But the spiritual path teaches that true worth is intrinsic, non-transferable, unshakable, and self-sustaining. When isolation arrives, every dependency on external energy sources is exposed, examined, and burned away. The purpose of this test is to see whether your light is an echo of the crowd's approval or a flame that burns on its own, independent and original. Your spiritual rank becomes unmistakably clear when you realize that your internal light does not flicker in the absence of applause, companionship, or validation. Instead, it grows brighter, more stable, and more undeniable. In this crucible of stillness, you are pushed to rely solely on the comfort, guidance, and companionship of the divine within you. The silence amplifies the voice of your highest self, the voice that was always present but constantly overshadowed by the noise of worldly attachments. The withdrawal of certain people and circumstances is not a punishment, it is a spiritual clearing. Those who departed were part of the old contract, and their role in your story has been completed. The silence indicates that heaven is preparing the landscape for the new. In this solitude, you become self-sufficient in the spirit. You no longer need external confirmation because the anointing is not merely something placed upon you, it becomes who you are, woven into your identity, your nature, and your very essence. The solitude reveals the depth of your spiritual foundation. Without distractions to lean on, without voices to influence you, and without familiar energies to soothe you, you discover whether your faith is built on sand or on unbreakable stone. And when you pass this test, something profound happens. You emerge not just intact, but fortified. Not just whole, but unshakably whole. Your resilience becomes self-contained. Your power becomes undeniable. You prove to the spiritual realm and to the lower entities that attempted to test your strength that your source of power is internal, eternal, and inexhaustible. This quiet, self-contained resilience is the highest mark of your spiritual rank, the seal of those who have passed the test that most fear and few endure. Take one last, slow breath. Absorb the profound reality we have shared today. The awareness of your spiritual rank is not a boast, it is a profound responsibility. It means you are called to a higher standard of peace, non-reaction, and unwavering trust. Every test we have explored, the unjust accusation, the emotional bait, the voice of diminishment, the financial pressure, the external advice, the unexpected barrier, and the season of solitude, was merely an attempt by the unconscious world to assess the quality of the light they sensed emanating from your soul. They were unaware of the true power of your spiritual designation. But their tests, when navigated with stillness and grace, became the very instruments that confirmed your authority. You are not defined by the struggles you face, but by the peaceful, non-reactive manner in which you navigate them. The people who unknowingly tested you were merely instruments in a beautiful cosmic mechanism, confirming what your soul already knew. They were unaware of your spiritual rank until they tested it, and you, by remaining utterly still, passed the examination, sealed your authority, and quietly, peacefully moved forward on the anointed path. Go now, beloved chosen one, and carry your rank with the gentleness and quiet power it deserves. Be well, be still, and be at peace.